Welcome to Water, the Flow of Impact. Water is about sustaining momentum through every stage of your career. It helps us navigate change with intention while creating long, successful, and rewarding careers. Our first session is called Drifting is Not a Strategy. Joanne Gore is an award-winning B2B marketing authority on a mission to help the print industry sell more print. Following a career in tech, she now leads Joanne Gore Communications, a firm focused on driving growth through strategic messaging, lead generation, and social selling. She is a sought after speaker, regional director of Girls Who Print Canada, and founding member of the CXM Professionals Association, which used to be Explore. Translating trends like AI, sustainability, and digital transformation into real world opportunities for brands across North America and Europe. Welcome, Joanne. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deborah, for having me. And I am very excited to try and tell my story in the next 10 minutes or so.
Oh, you
Uh,
have 20.
oh, I have 20, even better.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
I can take a
15-ish.
breath. I can take
I'll
a breath
pop
then.
I'll
That
pop
sounds
back
good.
on, but I'll jump off now.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So, hello, everybody. Deborah did such an awesome job introducing me. So I'm just going to run straight into this. Um, I want to start by saying, first and foremost, the first section that I decided I wanted to talk about was who am I and how did I get here? And that sounds benign, but I realize the more I look at just that one statement, who am I and how did I get here? These are things that I often ask myself when we talk about things like imposter syndrome. We talk about, leaping in before you're sure if you're ready, taking on the hard challenges, taking the risks, rolling up your sleeves. And I'm going to be talking all about that. But really, I really want you to think about who you are, how you got to where you are today, and ultimately where it is that you want to go and where you want to grow. And I'm hoping that some of my stories will help facilitate that just a little bit. When I found out that I was on the water track, I was really excited. I don't know if Deborah remembers this story, but I was like, holy crap, I realized in the last few years that water is very calming for me. I just enjoy, shades of blue, being near the water. I'm an Aquarian, so somehow that's all really resonating with me. At the same time, that's really ironic because my career has been nothing but not calm. In fact, I would argue that my career, my trajectory has been quite chaotic. Um, I started my career as a graphic designer, as a typesetter, spent the first, 8, 10 years of my career working in the print industry, you name it, I did it. I shot film, I burned plates, I ran a press if I had to, I was in it. And then I got hired by a software company to manage all of their print production. So they almost overnight, I went from being in the print industry to being a corporate marketer. I did not know what any of that meant. I didn't even know how to turn on a computer. I mean, this was we're talking about the late in the mid 90s. I don't want to date myself too poorly. The mid 90s. Computers are all just getting their feet wet. I didn't know. But I was that person that decided I was going to figure it out. I would stay late. There were no laptops then. I would stay late. I would just play and click and figure things out. I probably lost more Word documents than most people lose socks in the dryer. But that was okay because it taught me. And what happened was I suddenly went from the person who knew nothing to the person that everybody turned to when they had troubles under navigating Word or navigating certain areas. And that's kind of the approach that I've always taken was if I don't know what it is, I want to figure it out. I want to figure out how to do it, especially if it's something that's going to help me, help my company, help the people that I work with. And I've always been sort of that go-to person for people. So, fast forward corporate career of spanning, 3+ decades. I worked with startups. I worked with international companies. I worked with we're the Canadian subsidiary of, or I've worked with we're the global company. I've lived through more acquisitions and mergers and buyouts than, again, anybody should ever have to. My claim to fame is I'm such a great marketer. I've marketed myself out of every job I've ever had. And with all of that came a lot of chaos. It is not for the faint of heart. It has taught me so much about myself, about working with other people, about understanding how different people think. Are you the doer? Are you the thinker? Type A. And you learn how to navigate waters when you are navigating relationships, both with vendors, with your boss, with your colleague, with your partner, with your children, with your friends, whatever that is. These lessons learned are how I sort of approach life. Eventually, it got to the point where people were saying, you've got so many stories, you need to write a book. So, guess what? I wrote a book. And I'm not going to spend this whole session talking about my book. I am going to give a quick little promo. It's called Thriving in Chaos: Lessons Learned as a Corporate Marketer. And yes, you can buy it on Amazon. A lot of the stories that I'm going to share today are in the book. Some are not. Let's just see where this takes us. Um, Really, what I've learned is how important it is to adapt when circumstances change. Because when you drift, you're letting the current decide where you go. When you adapt, you can control the tide. And learning how to adapt, learning when it's time to sort of cut bait and move on, or when to dig in and move forward. I think that was part of the conversation in the last group. That to me is really where things start to resonate. I learned that while I was writing my book, it was all about my stories. And sort of halfway through it, I realized, well, who cares? Who cares about my stories? Except maybe my kids one day, that's the legacy that they're going to learn about their mom. And I realized halfway through that it's not about what we do, it's about how we help. And the story needed to not be my story. It needed to be something that would help others learn to find their strength, learn to cope with the crap that life throws at us, learn how to thrive in whatever chaos comes your way. So I just kind of wanted to preface all of that by saying sort of where I'm coming from. I think I'm a little bit fortunate that I kind of had these stories already told to pull from, but that doesn't mean I'm going to use them all. Um, but I just wanted to mention that before I transitioned into really the meat of what I want to talk about. Um, One of those is saying yes before I had credentials. I like to say yes to a lot of things. I even put in the chat, yeah, when you need something done, ask a busy person. I've always been that busy person. Um, I say yes to a lot because, again, I thrive on the challenge. I thrive on the chaos, but I am learning to say no. I am learning to take a beat. I am learning to ask the whys. Why does this matter? Why are we doing this? Why do you need this done tomorrow? What is the goal? What is the end game? Again, I think it was Rosemary who was talking about asking questions. What would you do? What do you think? And I also have found myself sort of pushing back on that a little bit more, because when you can really get to the nut of the problem, you recognize really quickly sometimes the tactic you think you needed is not really the tactic that's going to help you move forward. So again, my hope is that you can learn to really look at the full 360 of a situation instead of getting that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, they said something bad about me. Oh, what am I going to do here? Oh, I don't belong in this room. You belong in every room. Every person has a right to ask a question. Every person has a right to learn. And I don't think it, it matters whether you're an intern or whether you are a senior executive, you have the right to raise your hand. Now, if you're asking the same questions multiple times, I can understand why somebody might get annoyed. But again, I grew up believing that there is no such thing as a bad question, especially if it's going to help not just yourself, but other people. So I already said how I started my career as a graphic designer, moved into corporate marketing. Um, again, I didn't know how to turn on a computer. I wasn't sure if I could do what was required of me. But then I really thought about it, and especially when I think back now to who I was then, and again at that point I was probably in my mid to late 20s. At that point, yes, I graduated college quite young. Um, I had project management experience. I understood production. I understood vendor management. I understood how important it was to inspect details. Um, Color was super important. I was that brand cop. I was the brand police. And I brought that from my career as a designer into my career as a corporate marketer. I still am known for that today. And most importantly, what I brought to the role was that ability to figure things out. When Deborah and I were talking about this, we sort of stumbled into the McDonald's example. Um, and it really resonated with me. And so I made a note that I wanted to talk about it. When people say, I don't have experience, I've only worked at McDonald's or I've only worked retail, that's a cop out because no matter what, especially McDonald's, you're learning a lot. You're learning workflow, you're learning process, you're learning how to deal with irate customers, you're learning how to stay calm when the heat turns up. The session before was heat, now we're water, or no, it was fire, now we're water. Um, you learn about teamwork and time management and quality and consistency and efficiency. And these are all of the things that matter no matter where you are in your career. If you can bring those disciplines to what you do, it no longer becomes, oh, I only have experience at McDonald's. It's, I've got real world experience that adds value to what I'm going to bring to this company. The bottom line is no learned skill is ever wasted. The trick is recognizing how to carry it forward. Next section, one of my favorites. What can go wrong will go wrong. If you think that you have gotten everything buttoned up in a bow, I promise you, something will cause a wrinkle. Murphy's Law will come into full effect. One example that I talk about was a trade show that I did several years ago when I was working in software. It wasn't in the print industry. And we were doing we had a huge booth. We were giving away a car. Like we were literally giving away a car. We had it parked out in the parking lot. It was a huge, huge production. Long story short, we're setting up the booth. There's no collateral. None of our boxes showed up. We were all looking at each other going like, what the hell are we supposed to do? And again, remember, there was no internet. This was long before the days of internet and mobile phones and smartphones. Like everything was being done like, old school manual. We were in Las Vegas. Our designers were in Toronto. We were calling them at like, it was 3 in the morning here. We ended up having all of the artwork sent over to a local Kinko's. We had to reproduce everything. We had collaterals. We had, forms to fill out, entry ballots. It was paper, so much paper. It cost us over $5,000 US back then. So we're going like 25 years ago. And on the last day of the show, all the boxes showed up with like yellow tape. It looked like a crime scene. And all we could just do was laugh and shake our heads. We got through it. We're the only ones that knew that there was an issue. If anybody has ever planned a wedding or an event, you all know, or if you've been on stage at a theater production, you know something will go wrong. It's how you handle the situation. You can curl up in a ball and decide, oh no, I'm going to get fired. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to take control of the situation. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm just going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to get it done. Key takeaway here is that adaptability helps you through the storm. Strategy helps you decide what's next once you're through it. All right, next section. This one is from the book. It's the chapter called You're Fired. Now What? Um, those of you here, head to the chat. Put a one if you've ever had the pleasure of being fired or let go, or if you've had to be the person to do the firing. If you've never experienced that warm and cozy feeling that happens, put a two. I am definitely seeing lots of ones laid off. I already mentioned to you that, I've been bounced around the industry so many times, it would make your head spin. Just head to my LinkedIn and you'll see all the different companies that I worked at. Um, but, as a result, there's strategies and tactics that you can use. The first time I was fired, yeah, I crawled up in that ball. I cried my way to the bus stop. I was in a state of shock. I was crying. But you know what? I decided when it was time to end the pity party. And this is, if you take nothing else away, give yourself permission to have that pity party. But give yourself an end point. I'm going to have it for an hour. I'm going to have it for a day. I'm going to have it for a week. Try not to make it go more than like 2 weeks, because then you can get into really choppy waters. But if you can give yourself permission to just do whatever it needs to be done, and then you can say, okay, I've done that. I'm going to push that aside and I'm going to move forward. That's how I was able to survive every layoff, every displacement, every new boss, every new logo that I eventually represented. And that's when you really stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start saying, okay, what am I going to do next? So, that whole you're fired, it is the most horrible feeling. And yeah, I'm seeing, I'm sneaking into the chat. I should not be looking at the chat, but you know, it after a while, it almost becomes laughable. And after a while, you do start to spot some of the warning signs. And that's what I'm going to be talking about next, is learning how to sort of navigate those waters, how to spot the warning signs, how to read the water. I've learned to pay attention to some really broad shifts. These are things like changes in ownership, changes in leadership. All of a sudden, there's strangers being shown, given the tour of the place. People are wearing suits a little bit more, dressing a little bit differently. There are a lot more closed door conversations. You're seeing HR running around with manila envelopes under their arms. If anybody has experienced that manila envelope, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you see HR with a manila envelope and then you're called into the HR office, guess what? You're about to be let go. That I hate to burst your bubble. That's a reality. Be ready for it. Be prepared for when the rug is pulled out from under you. Um, when company priorities shift, when your role starts to change, when you're saying, well, now you're reporting to somebody else. Oh, now you're reporting to somebody else. When the industry starts shifting, when it feels like the morals of the company might be changing a little bit, these are all warning signs. What you do when you see those signs is 100% in your control. The goal is to be ready and prepared. Now, it doesn't mean that you become paranoid every time there's a signal. It just means that you need to pay attention. Start asking yourself questions like, what's changing? What could it mean for me? What information do I need? Do I need to prepare? Is there an opportunity for me? Maybe you are being courted, for a takeover and you love that other company and you want to do everything to have their logo on your LinkedIn profile. Um, and also, have you already been thinking about a change? Is there joy in your job? Are you just sort of waiting for that push out the door and you didn't even realize it? Um, if you're early in your career, you're not going to recognize these patterns, and that's okay. That's why folks like us are here. That's why sort of the mentor program at Girls Who Print is so valuable because we have experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're here to help you recognize the signs and navigate your way. Again, the key takeaway here is don't panic every time you see a cloud. Have your umbrella ready and just keep looking at the horizon. Keep learning. No skill is ever wasted. I think I kind of touched on that, and I don't want to run too late because I know that I've got a couple more things to talk about. So keep learning. No skill is ever wasted. I started off very manual. I said I was a typesetter. I used a waxer. I was cutting up stuff. Now I work with AI. I mean, holy crap, the stuff I've seen throughout my career, software, technology. I was there when the first fax machine was installed at the quick copy printer that I was working at. And now those are obsolete. So, holy crap, like what a ride it's been. I would not change it for the world. I mean, I could do without some of the layoffs, but you know what? They all shaped me into the person that I am today. Keep adding to what you know because you never know which skill your next chapter is going to need. Keep building the relationships before you need them. I didn't suddenly build a network. I've been working really hard at growing my network of people who I can help, who can help me, who I admire, um, who I recognize as true leaders, um, or even just young people coming in like Tara, Mackenzie, and Sheila the Print Nerd. The joy and the wonder and the creativity and the earnestness that they are bringing into this industry that we need and crave so badly to me is so inspiring. And that's where my joy comes from. And that's where how I fill up my gas tank when I'm saying, who am I and how did I get here? Build your network while the water is calm because it's much harder to build a life raft when you're already overboard. Um, So I'm going to kind of wrap it up here a little bit and talk about knowing where your life jacket is. Um, a lot of these experiences have really shown me I might not know what's coming next, but I don't have to wait for something to happen in order to prepare for it. You can't stop a merger. You can't control the layoff. You cannot predict the next. God, Lord knows we could never have predicted the technology shift that has happened just in the course of the last couple of years. But you can make sure that you're not starting from zero when it happens. And that is what your life jacket is. The best time to build your tools to get that life jacket ready again is when the water is calm. So if I had to boil all of this down into 5 things, and I know I skimmed through a couple of things and I went long on a couple of others and I'm hoping that some of these strategies and tools are helpful to you. But these are the 5 things. Number one, document your value. Keep track of every accomplishment, every result, every skill, every experience. If you do a weekly report to your manager or a monthly report, a progress report, what you've accomplished, what your priorities are, what some of the challenges are you're facing, keep them. Because when it comes time for your annual review, you're not going to have to rack your brain. You're just going to go back through all your reports and you're going to know, okay, these are the things I've accomplished. Here's what I got done well. Here's where I can use some help and some guidance. And here's what I want to do next. That is probably one of the easiest things you can ever do is just keep it all documented. Please keep learning. Stay curious and keep adding to what you know. That was number 2, keep learning. Number 3, stay visible, participate, Raise your hand, contribute. Don't let your current employer become the only thing that's defining your professional identity. I got very tired of executive decisions impacting my career, resulting in me constantly having to change jobs every 3 to 5 years. It's why I started my own business. And was it scary? Lord knows it's scary, but I'm in control. Good, bad, or ugly, I am in control. Um, Invest in relationships, please. Build them long before you need them. Girls Who Print is an amazing association to do that. I believe it's 14,000 people strong right now, and growing. Use LinkedIn, use your channels, connect with all of the people here. We're here to help each other, pick each other up, pat each other on the back, tell the hard truths, say those harsh realities, but say them with kindness and generosity, humility, and gratitude. And most importantly, maintain your career survival kit. Keep your resume, your references, your skills, your financial breathing room wherever possible. Always, always have a plan B. So before I completely wrap up, I want you to ask yourself one question. If your career circumstances changed tomorrow, how prepared would you be? And don't think in hypotheses. Pick one thing that would make you better prepared, whether that's updating your resume, documenting your accomplishments, go back and find all those reports and reviews, reconnect with somebody that maybe you've lost touch with, learn something new, review your finances. Pick one, just start there. Whatever the gap is, just make sure that you've got that plan B. You're always on the lookout and you're building your life jacket. In conclusion, you cannot control the water, but you can learn to read it, prepare for it, and decide where you want to go. Because drifting is definitely not a strategy.
Excellent. Excellent. Um, as you were talking about the building your life jacket. By the way, I have to say that Tim Hortons, McDonald's, retail stores, everybody agreed with the analogy that it wasn't an analogy, the example of don't think that there's no such that thing as experience. Everything you do, by the way, babysitting is experience. Everybody has experience.
I put myself through college by working at Harvey's. Now, Harvey's is like the Canadian McDonald's for those who don't know Harvey's. It's a burger joint. It's a fast food burger joint in Canada.
Right.
That's how I put myself through school.
Yeah. But you take things away from every job. And I would like to say as someone who's lost their job, it was more than 10 times in advertising because it was just Tuesday and the client left or something happened. And that is actually the worst time to update your resume. It is the worst time to ask people for recommendations. So I agree with you. Every day you can do something. And every time you do something new at work, take a minute and add it to your resume so that when in um, you're actually grieving at that point because there was a loss and your brain can't process it. So you're going through anger, denial, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And that is not when you want to be reaching out to people and asking them to give you a recommendation, especially if they know that you don't have a job, or certainly you're reaching out to people when you get into that mode, but it's much better to keep the relationships going with the people that can help you all the time, and in a mutual beneficial way. And as says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
There you go. I
There we
love it.
go.
I love it.
Thank
I
you so
love it.
much for everything. And I'm going to ask Sarah to join us now, and we'll see you for the panel.
Thanks.